purposeful companies actually are the most successful. I looked at a lot of numbers. They perform multiple times better than a standard company. What happens in profitability? Because of this short-termism in whatever we do, we're trying to immediately fix something that is not working and support your how-tos with whys, or even better, replace. Please do so. You will be surprised what you may discover.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast, where we are here to educate, equip, and inspire people to build extraordinary companies. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Now, let's get it started. Hey guys, this is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm the managing partner at Epiphany Business Consulting and your host for today. And today we have Erin. Erin, how are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for inviting me. It sounds like it's going to be a very good conversation. I'm already looking forward to it, and I haven't started yet.
Well, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Let's do this before we jump into it. Why don't you tell our guests a little bit about you and what you do and how you help people win?
Well, thank you very much for asking. And although I don't really like labeling myself in any shape or form, I believe that especially when you just talk and you can't see the person, it's I have to label somehow to explain what I do.
You're
So,
a non-labeler.
no,
I just labeled you.
you caught me. Right. Okay. No, I'm categorically against any type of labels, but yeah, that was a good one. So I'm a business and leadership success coach working with ethical business owners and positive impact driven businesses who would like to make their lives and businesses less effortful or more effortless. So that is what I do, and I'm focusing on addressing the root causes. You know what I noticed, that as society, lately we pay too much attention to symptoms. It's all across all possible areas, including our health.
Absolutely.
And when you address symptoms, it really becomes effortful because there are too many of them. You need to take care of so many different things. And what always happens, that one symptom brings another one. So even if you treat one, always you've got to have a reflection on something else. So it becomes like an endless, effortful process of constant fixing. So what I'm advocating for and what I'm helping my clients to achieve is to identify the root cause, the systemic issue that we can address once and for all. And in my world, how I see it in business is strategy, because very often businesses are focused on tactics. They're focused on return on investment. It's immediate gratification that we're all after, right? Instead of looking at the strategy and the longer term planning, the destination that you would like to reach. In profitability, for me, it's mindful and holistic approach to build business building. Because again, what happens in profitability, because of this short-termism and whatever we do, we're trying to immediately fix something that is not working and fix something else that is not working. So we're constantly shifting attention. Shifting attention actually leads to waste of your resources that are very often already limited. Also, what we tend to do is in our society and in business and in our lives, we tend to set goals. And probably there is nothing wrong with it in principle, but when it comes to implementation, we appear to be in a situation where goals start ruling our lives, because all we do, we are striving to achieve. This strive, again, it's effortful, right? Because it deprives us of joy, of exploring the journey, of being on this journey, on improving the business. There are different paths or streams that come to profitability. And I believe that if you improve a little bit here and there, all of them, just on a daily basis, mindfully, your business going to get better by definition because it can't get worse, but you're not going to be under pressure of striving to achieve this goal. Because if you achieve it, what's going to happen? You're going to set up another one, and it's going to be another push for striving. Or if you don't achieve it, oh my God, your self-esteem going to really experience such a blow. You're not going to be happy with yourself or people around you. Right. So actually achieving this goal brings nothing to you. No satisfaction, no joy, no release. It's
Mm-hmm.
all about, this kind of continuous movement. In leadership, for me, this systemic issue that I'm talking about is your self-concept. We can talk about so many different trainings and one after another and after another, and we'll try to remember what we learned, even if we want to learn it, because often trainings are given to us by the company, whether we want to change or we don't want to change. Nobody asks us. And if we don't want, it doesn't really work. And altogether, when we're not ready for leadership, we experience all the things that everybody's talking about. We don't know how to motivate the team. We don't know how to create safety because all we care about is ourselves. Are we really fit for purpose? Are we really credible enough? How can we do so people listen to us? How can we do so this creativity? It's all about us because often we don't feel secure in this role. So instead of going through multiple trainings, why don't we look at the self-concept? What do you believe the leader is? And who do you believe you are? Is there a match? Is there a discrepancy? Where is the discrepancy? Where is it coming from? Is it coming because you think this is how you should to be, or because somebody told you that this is how it should to be? Why don't you just discover and accept yourself and lead the team from the place of acceptance? You can always polish the skills later on, but you're going to find this comfort and confidence of being a leader, and people will follow. And in life, it's personal freedom. There's no way without it. For me, it's a foundation of our being. Because when we're free, when we allow ourselves to be free, then life turns effortless.
I love that. I
Wow.
absolutely love
Okay.
that.
It's like, no, it's time. That was
You deserve an award. Let's go
you bit
home
of
now.
something.
There was so much that you said. This was amazing. I love what I gathered. You talked about kind of like becoming that authentic self, the free version, of yourself. I love that, and I've done some of that journey. Going
Yeah.
from that, oh, this is who I'm supposed to be versus okay, this is who I am. This is what I do. And so I totally get that. Totally get that. What got you into this space? Because I mean, this is again, I mean, this is a lot. This is something that a conversation I don't have very often.
Oh, thank you so much. I take it as a compliment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my life and business experience, it wasn't all rose and well, yeah, basically what happened, I went through a period of deep transformation
Mm-hmm.
that put me in a slightly different state of mind or a different level of consciousness. And through this transformation, there was a decision to become a coach, something that I never contemplated about before. It just happened that that was the path that unrolled in front of me. And when I was looking at my personal philosophy, because again, I wanted it to be 100% myself, something that I believe in, but also something that I live. So I wanted to preach what I live because I know that it works. So for me, that was very
Mm-hmm.
important. And then when I was looking at a philosophy, I actually combined different philosophies in one
Mm-hmm.
to create this transformational journey. And then, to be honest, it's just a matter of mere thinking. Because I started thinking about leadership and the way I experienced it and the way I was trained
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that we all were trained exactly the same way. we were all trained to be transformational leaders with all these capabilities, checklists and
Yeah.
360s,
Yeah.
and we all were different. That was one thing that I thought that it kind of stopped making sense to me. How is it possible?
Mhm.
Another thing that came from it, that, there were companies where a lot worked for quite a long time, not
Mhm.
many, but it happened.
Mhm.
And I witnessed different leaders within the same company
Mhm.
because they were changed, were promoted. And you know what was fascinating? Again, we were trained all exactly in the same way, but under some of them, the company was flourishing and there was motivation and people
Mhm.
wanted, they were burning to make it work.
Mhm.
And under others, it was all going downhill.
Mhm.
So again, which means that training is not something that works. So it means that personality underneath these trainings really plays a role.
Mhm.
That another thing, that I was remembering. Also, I remembered how I felt and how my teams and my colleagues felt under different leaders. And that made me understand, because I was really good in what I was doing.
Mhm.
And I was challenging the authority. I just love doing it. It's fun. And in corporate, it's not particularly welcome.
Mhm.
And again, I remember that from my level, it doesn't really matter how much I would care about my consumers, my brands, or my teams. There's not much I can do because there's somebody above me who basically, plays the tune for everybody. And that made me think that actually, as a middle management level or up for, say, low senior, whatever. I was on the board of directors for one company, but still, you had people that were senior to me. Uh, that actually made me think that at my level of responsibility and seniority, there's nothing I can do if somebody on top doesn't create the ambiance that everybody would be willing to follow. So again, it all went back to leadership. And this is how I realized that if I want to change it and if I want to make it better for other people so they don't experience it the way I did, I need to work with senior leaders because it's the only way to change the company from within. And when it comes to strategy and profitability, when I was still trying to get back to the corporate world, something I knew I didn't want to, I had a lot of interviews with different companies across all various industries and all different sizes and capabilities. And because I'm a strategist,
Mhm.
before every conversation, every interview, I felt like I had to analyze a strategy, what they're about, who they talk to, and very often I couldn't figure out who they are, who they talk to, what they do. And during these conversations, I was asking them questions and starting to talk about brands and about strategy. And I saw that they were clueless. They have no idea what I'm talking about, but all the mistakes, because sometimes they, talk about what is not working, how you would address it. All mistakes were so similar. It like was a pattern. And it just from mere quantity number of these interviews, you start seeing the pattern, and then you see what's behind it. And behind it, the fact that there's no strategy. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just shifting directions because everybody's bothered with how-tos, and very few are bothered with whys. There's a big difference. It's just a matter of my experience, my life experience, my business experience, and probably being analytical that also helps. So you can really connect the dots
Mhm.
and kind of create the pattern and see what's underneath. So this is how it all happened.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. And you're and I guess it makes sense as a strategist, you're very focused on root cause, why things are happening. Is this so with that, I heard you talk about that from I heard you talk about that from the perspective of leadership. Do you look at other parts of the business as well, or is it primarily driven by the leadership?
Well, within the profitability flow model, there are a few things that make the whole well, the whole business sustainable and profitable. I know before the recording, we had a chat about sustainability.
Yeah.
And now I believe it has three meanings, because it can be sustainable business, but sustainable in terms of its longevity.
Uh-huh.
It can be sustainable business that all this climate and environmental, meaning of this word. I think it's very often used. Or it can be sustainable in a wider meaning that actually helps save the planet and the environment and whatever we have for future generations, right? So that there's so many different meanings to this word. I'm talking sustainability in this particular case as a profitability, as a longevity of a business.
Uh-huh.
And it all starts with foundation, because it's not possible to build a business without a foundation. Even if you freaking try, you can't do it. And the foundation is actually your belief, your purpose, your values, your value proposition or business model, and also your ethic, your business philosophy. And again, I do believe in ethics. I do believe in values, and I do believe in morality. I do believe in people doing business with integrity towards themselves, towards customers, toward their partners, right? I believe that it makes it more sustainable. I believe it makes it easier to manage. It's like safety boundaries.
Yeah.
And if you know, in psychology, boundaries actually means freedom. Surprise, surprise, because it kind of circles the terrain, the place, the limits, the borders within which you can operate, which means that within these borders you are free.
Hurry. Yep.
You know that you're not going to cross it. So yeah, boundaries mean freedom in a weird, twisted way. But and from foundation, there's another thing amazing. It's called ethical committee. I love this one. When you actually create a committee from different people, from different functions, different seniority levels, that are independent, they are not reporting into the leadership for obvious reasons, and they monitor that whatever the business does is in line with their ethical principles.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's an independent body, and I believe it's absolutely necessary, because with power, people change. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So having this ethical committee I think it's a very nice, way of bringing sense back to the business. And then with regards to the pillars that I focus on, the first one is strategy, obviously. The second one is leadership, that we also touched upon. The third one is people. And people, I mean three groups of people. The first one, employees. The second one, customers, consumers, clients, wherever they are. And the third one that are always often forgotten, business partners. So one thing that I kind of try to, if I make it really short, one thing, it's a change of mindset to understand, to realize that these people, all these three groups of people, they don't owe you anything, but they work to enable your business. So as a matter of fact, you owe them. And the fact that you pay them salary or pay them commission or whatever you pay them retainer, it doesn't mean that they work for you. It means that they agreed to help you build your business. It's a very big difference.
Yeah.
And I believe that very often companies forget about it. I know, again, how employees can be mistreated. I know how partners were mistreated when I worked with advertising agencies.
Yeah.
Often they were treated like servants just because of the retainer, but they have their own business, they have their own humanity. So this is something that we definitely forget about. With regards to consumers, I don't want to even say anything, because it's either we sell to earn our money, earn our business. No, if you want to get money, it's not because you sell it, because somebody buys it. Who is paying for your business? It's your customer and your client, not what you sell. right? It's one thing. And another thing is when consumers are completely forgotten in favor of shareholders. That is
Yes.
disaster,
Yeah.
right? But who is paying for your business? Let's set the priority. So that was my third pillar. The fourth pillar is implementation. And implementation, again, as a strategist, I really don't focus very much on implementation, but there are certain principles in terms of, having it more standardized. So it's easier for people to ease communication, to remove bureaucracy, to give people freedom. And now I'm referring to Kaizen principles, to give people freedom to improve, as I said, every stream where they feel that something can be improved. Give them opportunity to make it better. Don't
Mhm.
suffocate, people under micromanagement and control, because everything is supposed to be easy and supposed to flow. There are many other principles, that your listeners can look at Kaizen philosophy. But it works. It has been proven to work, and it makes it easier. So the fourth pillar is contribution. Purpose is strategic. Contribution is tactical. Why they are important? They are important for your mental health, as surprising as it sounds, because when you have it, first of all, it helps your resilience because you do something for a good cause.
Mhm.
So it allows you to persevere because it's more emotionally touching.
Mhm.
It builds motivation in you and in your employees. It reduces stress. Again, just because it's something higher than money, that your contribution going to do something to somebody that you care about. So, and that just helps your stress slightly go down. It allows you to hire the right people. And also it allows you to retain the right people, surprisingly. It builds your reputation as a business of the company in the eyes of your external stakeholders. It builds the perception of your brand in eyes of consumers. So, altogether, it's not like nice to have. Actually, it really helps your business. And this is why I added it as another pillar, because it makes sense. And I heard yesterday there was a research that purposeful companies actually are the most successful. And it's not only yesterday I heard it. I wrote the book, the strategy
Mhm.
guide. It's called From Purpose to Profit. And I
Mhm.
looked at a lot of numbers, where guys analyzed the standing and profitability of purposeful companies. They
Mhm.
perform multiple times better than a standard company.
Yeah.
So there must be something behind it.
Yeah.
And the final sixth pillar, you will be surprised, is personal growth.
Okay.
Because I don't believe you can run a profitable business from a fixed mindset, from insecurities, from
Right.
being a victim, from being a controller, from ignorance. It is not possible because the world is moving forward. And especially if you work with younger generation, they're more hungry for growth. They
Mhm.
want this education, they want improvement, they want progression. So if you're setting yourself back and not working on how grow your mindset so you can open up and invite all this creativity and innovation into your company and let people feel like
Mhm.
they're contributing, like
Mhm.
they mean something without
Mhm.
trying to just, spend all your time of feeling better than they are,
Yeah.
that will help your company grow. Just
Yeah.
once you accept that you may not know everything, and it's fine because you don't have to. You are there for a different reason. You are there to ignite passion and motivation. This is what you're leading the company for, and not to fix everything by yourself and letting others what to do across all possible departments in the company. I'm done. Drum roll.
That's wonderful. What I was thinking about, some of what I was thinking about, and as you talked about the different pillars, um, it actually supported what I was thinking, in the idea that businesses are for all intents and purposes, community. You're a community that comes together with a shared vision, as you talked about, with a shared, strategy. They're surviving, whatever
Yeah,
that's going
yeah.
to look like. And they have to operate in a world with other communities, in one way, shape, or form. So you have your consumers, you've got your partners, et cetera, et cetera. I love that thinking. And purpose has always been something that has been important for me, and I think as you were talking about, like the younger generation seems to be very purpose driven. They want to have alignment between their souls and, who they really are and the work that they're doing. And, I've seen as I've hired different people, younger people, they're really looking for, again, you were talking about, that contribution level and how important that is. It's like, within 15 days, within 30 days, how am I doing? It's just like, you just got here, but you're doing great, and really pouring into them.
You
I've,
know, one thing I wanted to add, because purpose, I think, it is part of my model, right? Don't take me wrong, but I believe it's a little bit overused. So
okay.
my new favorite word instead of purpose is meaning. And
Okay.
why I'm talking about it, if you ever heard about existentialism as philosophy or existential therapy,
Hmm.
that was created by Viktor Frankl, the famous psychiatrist that was in a concentration camp. And the way he survived it is because he found meaning in what he was going through. And the
Yes.
whole therapy was built on finding meaning in even the most challenging situations. So if you look at it from even therapeutic perspective, that purpose is your meaning. And this is why it helps you grow your business. This is why it helps you to persevere even when it's challenging. If somebody uses it for concentration camp and therapy, psychotherapy, so probably it's somebody can use it for their business.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I think about, specifically in his reference, he was in a concentration camp. He's going through, everything, and he's finding meaning incrementally, based on the situation he's in, in whatever way, shape, or form that is. I see purpose though as that longer reach. It's why I exist. It's why my business exists.
Yeah.
Is there what are your thoughts on that?
But, I don't see a big difference, because that's why I'm saying purpose is strategic, contribution is tactical, meaning is your why. Why? Why does it happen to me? Okay, that is a victimhood, but in
Yeah,
reality, it is your why.
yeah,
So if your purpose is something that is global, that is directional, contribution is how you bring it into smaller pieces on a day-to-day business, on a day-to-day, running your business. But
right,
in both cases, it is the meaning behind what you do. This is all
right,
it is.
right, right, right. I love that. And so with driving this, how much of how much is the leader responsible, for really ensuring that, meaning in particular, is really transformed through the business? I mean, it's easy with a smaller company. You've got 5, 10, 20 people, it's very easy to say, okay, this is why we're here. But when you've got 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 or more people, how do you continue to push that down? Or push it up, just depending on how you define your role as a leader.
Oh, that is a very, very good question, because it's not about pushing it down, it's about living it.
Okay.
So if you don't have narcissistic tendencies, that you are likely to embrace it. But if you do, and you don't live it, and you are not giving an example of how it's implemented throughout everything in the business, including yourself and your own ethical behavior, then you can't push it down. Because again, your personality gonna take over. You can try to create a fantastic board that we are purposeful, and you can do it for a week, and then something stressful happens. What will shine through? You will shine through. Because in a stressful situation, you can't really control yourself, because you have to survive. And in a survival situation, it's not about rational mind. It's about everything that's going to kick in just to get through it.
Mhm.
That's why I'm saying you can't push it through. And when you ask me about the role of a leader, in all fairness, and again, from my experience, the business is as good as the leadership,
Mhm.
or the business performance is as good as its leadership team. Because just thinking about it, people that are just employees or mid management level, they don't hold much power if they're not given this power.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not as much as they can do. And if you're not happy with the direction, off you go.
Right.
So I believe that leadership and the top leader is the only person responsible for what's going on with the company.
I've had a
No
belief
pressure.
that
No pressure whatsoever.
no pressure. I've had a belief that that is, something that we have to intentionally build, into the organization. Taking very specific efforts to work on that company culture and drive that, that vision and the meaning and all of that, to your team. So that your team aren't just numbers or cogs or whatever. They're
Yeah,
part of,
I
as you
agree.
talked about, a part of something bigger, and they can see that contribution. I had a talk a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking about, how to get that contribution from everybody in the organization, by, it's kind of like a Kaizen approach, but it's a little bit of a more anonymous approach to that. So that you're hearing the smallest voices. Have you experienced that?
If you don't mind, I'm going to challenge it because there's
Okay.
one wonderful word that I heard, how to make the team, blah, blah, blah. So were you tasked by your client to ask why the team isn't there?
That's a great question. That's a great question. No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I looked, and I think that because of my nature, I tend to look at things tactically. I look at strategy, but I look at problems a lot of times tactically instead of potentially at the people issue. And I know there are great people like you that focus on the people issue, and that's kind of what I depend on.
Look, you know what? There's one thing that I also thought about. I heard it wasn't when I was in corporate, but I heard that a lot of companies start employing psychologists,
Mm-hmm.
internal psychologists or mental health specialists,
Mm-hmm.
which is fantastic. I also heard from other leaders on podcasts that apparently leadership team, they don't use the services of psychologists. It's kind of for employee, it's part of the bonus program or perks. You can do it. So now imagine the situation it together with gym membership or mindfulness coach. Now
Mm-hmm.
look at the situation from the perspective of employee. Easy for me because I'm empathetic, so I can really try to understand how people behave, what happens. Something shit happens in the workplace,
Uh-huh.
right? You're all stressed, you're uncomfortable, you're ready to cry. I saw people crying. I know how it feels. Then you go to a psychologist and they talk with you, and then you go to the gym and you sweat it off and you finish it with good meditation session. You feel much better. What happens next morning when you come back to the office?
The problem is still there.
It's gonna be exactly the same shit, right? So what happens that I believe that actually it may even work worse because you start disbalancing people from one extreme to another. There's no middle ground. Either they're overstressed because it's not working, or they worked on themselves, they calm down. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not sustainable. It is possible, but it is not sustainable. And that is my concern because what I also understand, although I'm not an HR person, I understand that all these perks and all these recruitments and all these bonuses, that apparently they cost quite a lot of money to a company.
Yeah. Yep.
So the question is, why don't you fix the root cause and just make people be willing come to the office and then see how it goes from this perspective? It may actually be better for the business.
It sounds to me like you're talking from a structural perspective. Not necessarily fixing the people. Fixing the process and ensuring that we're getting the right people. Is that kind of where you're going with this?
Yeah, fixing the
Okay.
culture and where culture is coming from. and fixing the process. That was amazing. I had an interview with my company. I will never forget it. So it was a liquor company. So what they were doing, they had no brands. They only had branded products, which is not the same thing, whatever people tell me. So they have like innovation team. They have, I don't know, like lead time of 3 months to launch a new product. So everybody works 24/7 because they launch a product on the market, another liquor product. And then they put it in local stores and see whether by any chance it's going to take off or not. If it doesn't take off, they will bin it. And in 3 months, they're going to launch another one. So now imagine the team of innovation, marketeers, and salespeople that work 24/7 just to see all the results going down to the drain. Because it's not going to work if you don't have analysis, you don't have strategy, if you don't know your customer, if you don't have long-term planning, it's not going to work. Yeah. So it's like, it's like a hamster wheel. And you can give them as many psychologists you want. You can have a personal one, each and one of them, It's not going to help because the environment doesn't allow you to just contribute, just to build a business, to see the results of your work to start with, because they're all constantly shifting direction.
That's interesting. I was part of my work was in innovation, and that was just part of the process. So it's what we did like over and over again to get a product out there, because investing too much obviously in product development is gonna have its negative consequences. But that's interesting. I'm wondering if
there are two different types of innovation. There's routine innovation and there's meaningful innovation. Mm-hmm. And meaningful innovation, very often it shouldn't be even about the product. It's something within the company. It's something how you treat your clients. It's already an innovation. It shouldn't be perpetual, this cycle of doing minor incrementals, because you spend more on introducing incremental that may not bring you as much return investment. It's good for news, it's good for little update, but it's not a strategic piece that will improve your bottom line.
Mm-hmm. 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 That makes sense. Cool. What do you have for our audience? We're getting ready to wrap up, and we are running out of time. So
not now. I
know, right?
I understand. I just got into the process.
Just warming up.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So what do I have for your audience? First of all, I do have the book. Mm-hmm. It's big. If I find it, it's huge actually. And it is about strategy. There you go.
Oh, wow.
That's a big one.
I've got to get a copy of that.
In a way, it is a textbook of everything that is business strategy, brand, business, growth, market entry, portfolio, communication, all very condensed. So it doesn't take, it's not academic. It's very easy to read. It's more like a reference book.
Nice.
And if your listeners are in the UK or in Europe, they may actually use the discount of 50% if they purchase it from the Great British Bookshop. So that's an opportunity. I also offer 2 conversations, meaningful, deep conversations about your business, about a struggle, something that if we can sort out within 2 hours would be fantastic. If we can't, because obviously not everything can be sorted out immediately, but there's opportunity to talk it through, and maybe something going to come out later. And there are also free resources on my website. And I guess the most interesting would be different types of assessments that I created for all profitability pillars and effortless leadership program, personal freedom. So they're different. And why they're useful, it just explains everything that is within. And you can look at your business and you can look at all these different characteristics of every program and see, this is I have, this is I don't have, this is something I may need to work on. So it gives you more of a roadmap, or at least gives you some opportunities to focus if you so want to, obviously. So yeah, you can use it as a business improvement blueprint.
Awesome.
That's also an option.
And if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Click on the link in the show notes.
There you go. And I'll make sure we have those in place. Thank you so much for that. Do you have any other words of wisdom you want to offer our audience before we call it a day?
Yeah, I do. In line with everything that we discussed, guys, please, if you have an opportunity to support your how-tos with whys, or even better, replace, please do so. You will be surprised what you may discover. Not scary, but absolutely necessary for improvement and for the progress. Your whys is going to be more actionable than your how-to.
Erin, thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you so
I
much
enjoyed
for
our
inviting.
conversation. This was great. It was fun, like we expected.
Did my best.
Thank
All
you,
right,
thank you.
thank you.
All right, folks. Thanks for watching another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. We will see you next time. Take care.